Yo, it's Yerk, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really cool placement point system made by Pimit. And this is super easy to do if you guys want to have an arena style scoring in your game modes, then this is the video for you. Shout out to Pimit for coming up with this, and I also want to highlight this really cool website made by my friend YerkYT. Basically, if you get lost at any point, just go click the link in the description, and this website will walk you through any possible problems that you have because it literally has every single device and all of the settings. So how it works is if we just click on any of the devices, so let's start off with the first one, and it says this sequencer will begin the counting process. And it says the only settings that we need to change on it are activate on game phase, game start. And as we click through all these devices, you can see that all the settings are listed on the side. This is a really cool website, and I'd love to see YerkYT make some more cool stuff like this in the future. Both of their links will be down in the description, but let's just hop right into this tutorial on how to make an arena style placement point system in Fortnite Creative. So the first thing that we need to do is set up a pre-game spawn lobby. And to do that, all we're going to do is grab out a player spawn pad from our devices tab. Place it down and open up the settings, and all we need to change is enable during phase to none, and then we're just going to set visible during games to no. Make sure that you leave use as island start as yes, otherwise this will not work. Then we're just going to click OK, and now we're going to head back to the middle of our map and start setting up the placement points. So the first thing that we need to do now is grab the sequencer device. Go ahead and just place it down anywhere, and then open up the settings. The only setting that we need to change in here is activate on game phase to game start. Then we're just gonna click OK, and next up we need to grab out a trigger device. Place down your trigger device somewhere inside of the music sequencer, but don't place it right by the very front. For this first trigger, we're gonna open up the settings and we're gonna set when triggered, transmit on channel 1 and click OK. Copy and paste this trigger down a couple of grid snaps away and change it to when triggered, transmit on channel 6. Then directly above that trigger, copy and paste it again and set this trigger to transmit on channel 7. Next up, we need to grab a couple of mutator zones, and we need 3. So place down 3 and open up the settings for the first one. We're going to set allow weapon fire to yes. Then we're going to set the width, depth, and height to 100. Then we want to set enabled at game start to no. Next, we need to set enable when receiving from channel 1, disable when receiving from channel 2, and on player entering zone transmit on channel 2. Then click OK and move on to the next mutator zone. Open up the settings for our next mutator zone, and we're going to set allow weapon fire to yes. Again, we're going to set the width, depth, and height to 100. Enabled at game start is going to be no again. And this time we're going to set enable when receiving from channel 4, disable when receiving from channel 5, and on a player entering zone transmit on channel 5. And moving on to the third mutator zone, open up the settings, and for this one we're also going to set allow weapon fire to yes, width, depth, and height again to 100. This time we're going to leave enabled on game start to yes, and this time we're only going to set on player leaving zone transmit on channel 3. Now we're done setting up mutator zones. So the next step is going to be copying the channel 7 trigger from our sequencer and just adding the setting trigger when receiving from to channel 5. Then click OK, and now we need to grab out a score manager device. Place down your score manager somewhere next to the channel 7 trigger, and then just open up the settings. We're going to set score change when activated to 1. Then we want to set transmit on score to the number of players that we want remaining for players to receive this score. So this is going to be our top 10, so I set the transmit on score to 10. Then we're going to set reset when receiving from channel 1, increment when receiving from channel 2, decrement when receiving from channel 3, and on score output we want to transmit on channel 8. Then we're going to go ahead and rename this score manager so we don't get confused, and we're just going to name this one top 10. And now we need another trigger device. Go ahead and just copy the channel 7 trigger, open up the settings, and we're just going to reset all. Go into the device settings, and we're going to set enabled on game start to disabled. Then we want to set enabled when receiving from channel 6, trigger when receiving from channel 8, and when triggered transmit on channel 4. Click OK, and now we need to grab another score manager device. We can go ahead and just copy over our top 10 score manager device for this, and then open up the settings, and again we're just going to reset all. Open up the settings again, and now we're going to change the score value to the number of points that we want to give players when they reach top 10. Then we're going to set score change when activated to 1, activate when receiving from channel 5, enable when receiving from channel 8, and disable when receiving from channel 7. Go ahead and rename this the points to give to player for top 10, Now what we want to do is we want to copy all 3 of the devices after the trigger that triggers on channel 7. So our score manager, our trigger, and our other score manager. Copy and paste them down and then open up the settings. All we're going to change is the transmit on score to the next number of players that we want to give points for. So for me, that's going to be channel 5. Then we're going to set on score output transmit on channel 9 and rename it to top 5. Click OK, and now we're going to move on to the trigger and open up the settings, and we're only going to change trigger when receiving from to channel 9. And move on to the very last score manager, and this time we're just going to change the enable when receiving from to channel 9 and rename it to points for top 5. Now to move on to do top 3, we're just going to copy those 3 devices again, paste them down, and starting with the first score manager, we're going to set transmit on score to 3 for 3 players remaining when we want to give the score, and on score output transmit to channel 10. Then rename the device to top 3 and click OK. Move on to the trigger, and we're just going to set trigger when receiving from channel 10. And for the last score manager, enable when receiving from channel 10, and of course rename it to points for top 3. Click OK, and now let's move on to the victory points. So copy and paste these 3 devices down one more time, and starting with the score manager, open up the settings, and we're going to set this to transmit on score to 1, and on score output transmit on channel 11. Then of course rename it to victory, and click OK. Then for the trigger, we're going to open up the settings, and we're just going to set trigger when receiving from to channel 11. Then for the last score manager, we're just going to open up the settings and reset all. Then we're going to open up the settings and we're going to set score value to 3. Then we want to set times can triggered to 1. Scrolling down, we want to set activate when receiving from channel 5, enable when receiving from channel 11, disable when receiving from channel 7, and finally on max triggers transmit on channel 12. Then we need to go into our devices tab and we need to grab out a team settings and inventory device. Place down the team settings and inventory device. Then we just want to open up the settings and we want to set end round when receiving from channel 12. Then go into your My Island game settings. We want to set the spawn limit to 1, and we want to make sure that last standing ends game is turned off. Lastly, we need to go down and we need to set elimination score to 1. Then you'll just want to go over to your My Island UI tab, and you'll want to set the HUD info type to score and scoreboard win condition to score as well. And that is how you make Pimit's placement point system in Fortnite Creative. Again, huge shout out to Pimit. You guys have all been asking me for an updated placement point system, and shout out to Pimit for coming up with that. And shout out to Spanky Soli, who also helped me with the first one for the website. Again, link down in the description. Do me a favor and show them some love. But that is all I have for this one. If you guys enjoyed, please do me a favor. Drop a like, hit subscribe, do whatever you want to do and all that good stuff. If you want to support me, you can use code YerkYT in the item shop, and that'll really help me out a lot. But that is all I have for this one. Click right here to check out one of my other videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay up.